Time like
Good morning, one and all. Myself, Dr. K. Madhavi. For the BTech students of second BTech students of for them, they are having the computer organization subject. In that, today I'm presenting the fundamentals of computer organization. Before going to the fundamentals of our computer organization, we want to know the topics of today's presentation. What is a computer organization and what is a computer architecture? Computer types, functional units of computer, basic operational concepts, bus structure, data types, languages and translators. And computer organization, it is represented that computer organization and computer architecture. What is the difference between the computer organization and architecture, and what is the definition of the computer organization and a computer architecture? Computer organization is the hardware components connected from the computer system, whatever the peripheral devices we are connecting to the computer system or processor, we can call how we organize it. And functioning of those units is represented by the computer organization. Basically, in computer consisting of the major 5 units, central processing unit. For this central processing unit, it processes the information, whatever the information we are providing through input device, it processes that information. To process, we are sending the information to we are forwarding the information to the CPU. Through input device, we will forward the input information to the processor. After processing the central processing unit, it is sending to the output unit. Input is a one unit, input device is a one unit, and the central processing unit is another unit, and output device is another unit. Example for the input device is a keyboard. The CPU is nothing but the central processing unit, and the output device for the example for the output device is the default output device is screen. After that, after completion of the process, if you want to verify whenever you require the information, same information, if you want to verify that information we want to store in one more unit, that unit we can call it as a memory unit. Basically, the functional units of a computer is input unit, processor, memory, and output unit. These units, how we organize and what is the functional information of those units is represented by the computer organization. And we can also call as whatever the devices components we are connecting to the CPU, we can call it as a peripheral devices. All the keyboard, monitor, and mouse, joystick, speakers, printers, all are the peripheral devices to the computer. But what is the architecture, computer architecture? Architecture means whatever the functional units we are having, we organize. What is the structure of those units, how it behaves is represented by the architecture. This is the structure and behavioral of the various functional unit of a computer. Their interactions is represented by the architecture. What is the data size, how it is transmitting speed, how they are represented internally. Each unit is which fashion they design, how it works is represented by the architecture of your computer. And we are also having the different types of computers. This one, personal computers, notebook computers, workstations, mainframes, supercomputers, and handheld computers. We're having the different types of computers. Personal computers, we can call it as a desktops in general offices or in colleges or in schools. We are using personally in the home also we are using this personal computers. Nowadays, we are using not only the personal computers, notebook computers, we can call it as a laptops. They are This is a compact one compared to that personal computers. Laptop is a very compact one, is a portable one we are using nowadays. Workstations is nothing but the computers gives the more performance than PC. The speed of the system is more, and this is using for the scientific purpose, and in the some companies also they are using the workstations. And mainframes, the computers having a more storage and faster than the workstations, those type of computers we can call it as a mainframes. Computers can handle large number of users and uses the business data processing. If you want to execute the any business applications, we will go with the mainframe computers. Is a supercomputer, the name itself is indicating that supercomputers is the fastest one in the world. It is using for the radar transmissions or satellite transmissions. We will use the in those areas. We will use the supercomputers. It is a very large scale numerical calculations wherever is required. In those places, we will use the supercomputers. And the last one is handheld computers. Is also called personal digital assistants. It into the pocket means nothing but the calculators, address books, and whatever the notepads we are using in day-to-day life, those computers we can call as a handheld computers. These are the different types of computers we are using in the day-to-day life and in workplaces or in some scientific purpose and some confidential matters also we will use these computers, these different types of computers. Wherever is required, which type of computer, there we are using such a computer. But before going to that fundamentals of the computer, the basic unit, whatever the organization is, a computer organizer is represented, right? The fundamental functional units of your computer is processor and input-output devices and memory. The processor is consisting of it is processing whatever the information is provided by the input unit, it is processing. In that processor, it is executing arithmetical operations, logical operations, and text storages. All that happens in the processor only. And the arithmetical operations means is nothing but the addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, like that we are executing the arithmetical operations. Those arithmetical operations in this one, which arithmetical operation the processor wants to execute is represented by the control unit. Means we want to control the information. Input information want to receive from the through input device only, and after receiving the input information, we want to execute whatever the operation is represented, that operation, and then to execute those operations, sometimes we need the information from the memory. We want to get the information from memory. All the things is represented by the control unit. The control unit will send the signals all over all the units to execute the processor work. After that, after completion of the process, it is sending to the once again in the output device, or if you want to store the information, we are sending that information into the memory unit. This is the basically functional units of a computer. See the each and every unit of the computer is represented here. The input unit, computer accept the input through input units is example for the input units are the keyboard, mouse, or joysticks. All are comes under the input unit. Memory unit is a functions of memory unit is to store the programs and data. And these memory unit is divided into the we can represent default, we can represent that as a two categories, primary storage and secondary storage. If you want to execute any program, that software must and should be have to present in, if it is present in the primary storage, then only we can execute the programs. But the primary storage is a temporary storage. For that purpose, if you want to store permanently, we are using the permanent storage purpose, we are using the secondary storage. The primary storage is a RAM and the secondary storage is a hard disk. And the primary memory is the fastest one compared to that secondary memory is because of we are using the electronic component in the primary memory is a semiconductor devices is a costly one. That's why the cost of this primary memory is more compared to that secondary memory. And each one semiconductor device which will store the one bit data of information, and it is doing this primary memory or whatever may be the memory will read the data and write the data. Two operations, controlled operations are executed by the memory unit. And it is represented by the, we are storing the data in the form of a words in the memory. That uh, length of the memory is length of the word is represented by the 16 bits to 64 bits. Based on the types of the computer, we are representing the size of the word. Word, we can call it as a 8 bits, we can call it as a byte, but 16 bits onwards, we are calling as a word. 16 bit capacity memories are there in the word length, are some systems it is having the 32-bit capacity and some systems it is having the 64 bits of capacity. Word length systems we are having. We can store the data like that. And how much of time is required to store the access or store the word is called as a memory access time. Based on this access time, we can represent the speed of the computer also. And already explained that it is in a primary memory, we can call it as a random access memory. RAM is representing that. Secondary memory is nothing but the magnetic disk, optical disk, whatever the hard disk we are representing, that is a secondary memory. Is a large capacity we are using because of the less cost. The cost is less compared to that primary memory. Here that we are using the electronic component to design the secondary memory is the capacitors. Because of the very cheapest component we are using, that based on that, the cost is also less. Cost is less. That's why the capacity we are using, the huge capacity of the memory we are using in the secondary memory device. And the examples of this secondary memory is a magnetic disk, optical disk, and pen drives and hard disk. All this comes under that secondary memory. In this one more unit of this processor is arithmetical logical unit. It performs the arithmetical and logical operations, and such as that is additions, multiplications, divisions, all these comes under that arithmetical operations. Logical operations and or not exclusive or such operations also we are executing using this arithmetical logical unit. And output is unit is nothing but the, whatever the completion of the processor. If you want to see the results, we can see in the through output unit. Its a function is to send the processor results to the outside the world. Control unit is nothing but the activates the computer by causing the control signals. Means all the devices you want to execute their works in proper way, connecting to the another unit through this controlled unit, it is happens. This is a basic operation of a computer. When if you store the when you are storing the program in the primary memory, program is nothing but the completed instructions. A program is nothing but group of instructions. In this group of instructions, if you want to execute an instruction, that instruction, which instruction you want to execute is represented by the PC program counter. Address is represented here. The control will go to that information will transmit to the memory address register. Memory address register, the control is gone to that particular location and that instruction is forwarded into the memory data register. And this information is divided into, this instruction is divided into the two parts, operational part and address part. That operational part is transferred to the instruction register and the address part is transmitted to the memory address register. Based on that instruction, based on the control unit information, it is sending to the arithmetical unit. If it is, for example, add A comma B means add information is transferred to the, through control unit, it is transferred to the arithmetical logical unit. And consisting of the A value and B value, once again it transferred to the memory data register to arithmetical unit. And after completion of the addition, the results will be once again stored into the memory data register. This happens in the basic operation of a computer. Thank you, Linda.